Rodney Parrish here. I just wanted to make a real quick short video on how I shoot docks. A lot of people are intimidated by just thinking about shooting a dock, but I'm here to tell you it's easy to do. It's easier than casting, in my opinion, and it just takes a few little tips here, and I think everybody can master shooting a dock. Believe me, if I can do it, you can. But let me start out with what I use. I look for a rod. I look for the cheapest rods or the rods that I can afford. And in this case, you don't have to spend a lot of money on an ugly stick. It's on the bottom end, but they make a pretty good rod. And what I'm looking for, it may be a little different than what you may need, but what I finally decided that I like the most is a stiffer rod, because I can really shoot straight, because this is going to be like shooting a bow and arrow, basically. So I want power. I want to be able to actually put that jig in a straight line where I want it to land. And so a little stiffer rod works for me. So this is just a medium action spinning rod. It's an ugly stick, and it's a 6 foot 6 inch rod, and I like it. I mean, but I started out dock shooting with just a small rod, a 4 to 5 foot, with a real limber tip. And what I found after I got doing it more and more is I wanted to be able to go further, and that's what caused me to go to a little bit stiffer rod. And I really like the 6 foot 6 inch medium action spinning rod, but everybody could be different. The reels, I do not like the little ultralight or ultra spin reels. Really, to me, the bigger the spool, the better. And I really like, the size of spool of a 2000 or 2500 series. This is a Fruger President. And I'm telling you, I've had these for years. I've got some of these President reels that I bought 15 years ago. And they're still working just as good today as they did then. And I use them a lot. But I also like using high-vis 4 to 6 pound mono, and I really think that works really good for me with the jigs that I like to use, because I like a certain fall rate. I like that high-vis because it will, I'm a guy that's got to see I'm a line watcher, and I've got to see that line, because a lot of times I can see a little movement and realize the fish has it way before I'd ever feel it. And the crappie really don't mind the line. It's never been an issue that I thought that I was shying fish away just because of the color of the line. But I really like 4 pound test line if I can get by with it, because I have discovered that when I make a cast, I can count, and I can count in 1 second intervals, and that will determine how deep that jig is as it's falling. So when I make a cast and it hits the water, I start counting 1, 2, 3, and if I start reeling at 3, I'm running at about 3 foot of water. So now let me talk about another trick that I have. And that is, I love this stuff right here, Reel Magic. Reel Magic helps me get that jig out faster, because when you spray this on the line, when you spray this, it penetrates and it makes the line smoother, and it just seems to give it a little more pep, and that's all I want. I want the power. And so a little bit of this Reel Magic helps that line come off of those eyes a little smoother, and you can really tell it. And I want that jig to come out of there as fast as it can, because that means it's running as straight as it can. Now, let's talk about how we how we use this rod, or how we set this rod up to shoot a dock. Okay, all I do is, hold on, let me get this line out. All right, get some line out here where I can set this up. All right, all I do is try to grasp this line with my trigger finger, click the bell, get the line set. It's a little harder to do when I'm sitting there trying to do it on camera, but I'll put it right in here. I'll put it right in between these two fingers, like that. Okay, now the next trick is the jig. Now, a lot of people are afraid of this jig because it's got a hook on it and it's going to be flying off of your finger. Well, let me tell you, if you hold it just like that, hold it by the head of the jig, and with that hook pointing away from you, there is no way you're going to get stuck. So that is the best way to deal with holding the jig. Now, basically all we're going to be doing is bending this rod and holding the line on the tip of your finger like that right there. All you have to do is just point and hold your finger, hold that index finger, hold it out, and then shoot, just like that. So when you make that cast, just like I was saying earlier, I'm counting 1, 2, 3. I'm making my count, and that's telling me how deep the line is. If I've looked under a dock with my live scope and see them at 3 foot, then I'm counting to 2.5 usually, because then that means I'm a little above them, and I start slowly bringing that line in and trying to maintain that same depth as I come across. That's how you catch crappie up on these docks. They want that jig moving, and they want it at a certain level. And if you've got live scope, you know where they're at. So it's a matter of just getting that jig to come by them at the right depth. And all you're doing is just reeling that in at the depth that you set by counting as it was falling. Now we'll go over it again. You're going to pick that line up just like that, putting it on the tip of your finger. Click your bell, grab that jig, and hit a bucket. Now that's how I practice. This is how I shoot and practice, because I would rather learn how to do it here than have to worry so much when I'm on the water. I want to catch fish when I'm on the water. But I'm telling you, with just a little practice, anybody can do this. As you can tell, that wasn't very difficult. But the reason I like having a bucket there is because it sort of represents going under a dock. And that's what I'm after. I want it to go under a dock. So I just put a 5-gallon bucket out there, and I shoot at different distances, and it's just like shooting a boat. Once you start doing it and you try to do it the same way every time, you will eventually get instinctively able to put it where you want it. So I hope these tips help. This is how I do it. I know everybody's got their own way, but don't be intimidated by this, because let me tell you, if this old boy can do it, anybody can. Thanks for watching.